Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I've got my former Army football classmate, Will Huff, here to talk about his program that he got involved with called Soldiers to Sidelines. So, Will, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us about the program and how you got involved.
Well, thanks, Corbett. It's really great to be connected. And a little bit about myself. I'm from Long Island, New York. Grew up involved in many youth sports, very influenced by my coaches that continued on through my scholastic experience. Very positive, thanks to phenomenal coaching. And then, of course, our shared experience at West Point. And the reason I'm emphasizing the coaching, because then I went on to serve 24 years of active duty in the U.S. Army, incredible experience. And then I went into college athletics because that is a great calling, and it's a area where we can influence, the future and certainly support student athletes. Well, along the way, I got exposed to Soldiers to Sidelines, and Soldiers to Sidelines serves veterans and service members looking to get into coaching to serve their communities, and it's very aligned with my own priorities. And I started June of 2020, and happily state that we have great momentum going on today with Soldiers to Sidelines.
That's outstanding, and I completely agree with you. So, I was in the Army for a little while, and then I got involved in coaching when my kids decided they wanted to pick up soccer, and so I was like, all right, let's do this thing, right? And so I ended up coaching them from 4 years old until they graduated high school, and both of them went to play some college ball. So it was just a fantastic experience. So you served in the Army, then and then so exactly how did you stumble across Soldiers to Sidelines?
Corbett, that's a great question. So I was, after 4 years at Towson University, which was an amazing experience. I'm very fortunate. In fact, this is a good Army football network. I was attending an event for my son was a high school football player. I attended a 7-on-7 event at Towson University and met a fellow named Reno Faree. And Reno was an Army football player from, I believe it's 2001. And we just connected right away. I shared with him that I was transitioning out of the Army and interested to get into college athletics. He said, "Hey, that's great. Let me introduce you to the Towson athletic director." And then a couple of weeks later, I was meeting with Tim Leonard. And I always appreciate Tim because one of the challenges we face, when I say we, is transitioning service members, is a lack of understanding of our value added to our game organization. Whatever that skill set is, whatever the field of expertise is. And I'm very fortunate because Tim Leonard gave me the opportunity to start a path into athletic administration. And the question maybe why athletic administration versus coaching, I was greatly influenced. Back at West Point, we had Carl Ulrich, who was our athletic director, and being a veteran of the Korean War, where he commanded a Marine rifle company, I think he clearly understood. In fact, Carl and I have had these conversations, the role of athletics in developing men and women to serve later on in life. So along the way, after Towson University, I went to the Chesapeake Bayhawks to work with somebody who we share, Adam Silva, who was an Army lacrosse player and was president of the Bayhawks, gave me the opportunity to transition over to professional lacrosse. Great experience. And during that time with the Chesapeake Bayhawks, I was exposed to Soldiers to Sidelines and Harrison Bernstein. And candidly, my eyes just lit up when I thought of this concept of an organization, a nonprofit organization solely focused on supporting veterans and service members into coaching. Because we all know there's an opportunity out there in communities to serve, and what better way than to facilitate for our service members to get into the coaching to serve their communities. So that's a long answer, but I hopefully hit the key points.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of times in life, opportunities just present themselves either through old acquaintances or as we journey through life making new acquaintances, and at the right time at the right place we meet the right person. to help influence us. And you're so right. I look back over my life and I think of my football coaches, my soccer coaches, and the influence that they had, and how athletics teaches you that you can get knocked down but get right back up again. And then you get knocked down, you're going to get knocked down. And I would always tell my athletes that it's always hard until it's easy, right? And so you're learning something new, and unless you're pushing yourself to the edge of the best that you can be, if you're living in that comfort zone, you're not going to achieve your greatest strength. So there's all these lessons in life that we pick up through these sports. So exactly how does Soldiers to Sidelines work? I mean, how do you outreach? How do you
That's
recruit?
a great question. Great question, Corbett, and thank you for asking that. So Soldiers to the Sidelines, which has become a full-time nonprofit as of 2018 into 2019. And not to sound too convoluted, but COVID was a blessing in a way in that we quickly developed a virtual online process to serve service members and veterans. So Soldiers to the Sidelines was really blessed prior to COVID with having some great partnerships to include the New York Jets, Johns Hopkins Lacrosse, Georgetown University, Northwestern Football, and this was moving along very positive. However, when COVID came and we could no longer do in-person events, we transitioned to a virtual model. And fortunately, there is Harrison Bernstein, our founder and executive director, had a academic curriculum because he had taught a course at George Washington University on coaching. So we had all the academic rigor associated with it. And then we transitioned. In May of last year, Soldiers to the Sidelines conducted our first virtual and was very successful. Why was it successful? Because it allowed us to serve service members and veterans from throughout not only continental U.S., but over the last 6 months, we've had folks from Okinawa, from Hawaii, from Alaska, from Kuwait, from Germany. It is phenomenal. And it really inspired me. In fact, our last seminar we did in January in support of lacrosse, we had 2 folks that were deployed abroad. And it was great seeing them in their roughs, getting involved in coaching. So that's how do we connect is through our social media, through our partnerships, through the growing network of Soldier Coach alumni. I'm very proud to state we now have 300 veterans and service members that have been through our process, and we proudly call them our Soldier Coaches. And we have a series of seminars throughout 2020.
That's outstanding, Will. So I think about like the organization that I was with when I was coaching my kids. There's these different towns and they have all these youth programs from flag football, soccer. Are these the types of programs that would be able to tap into if they wanted to send coaches through your program? Can these smaller organizations work with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, Corbett, absolutely. I mean, right now, our target demographic are veterans and service members. So the only requirement is to have served or to be currently serving. I say that with a comma because starting in July, where we have our next sport performance seminar, we are opening it up to military spouses. And that's important only because oftentimes the service member themselves is fully involved, may not be able to coach. But as we all know, military families serve, right? You were a product of a military family, your father being a distinguished veteran. So I think it's important that we're expanding this outreach starting in July to include military spouses. And then what we hope to do is serve, whether it's like you and I talked about youth soccer, all the way through middle school, scholastic, and into collegiate, and really to align what that service member or veteran, and then starting in July, the spouse, what their aspirations are. There's nothing wrong. As a great example is Tony Coxum. Tony Coxum, Army football player, is now the current head football coach at Bluefield State College. And that is aligned with Tony's goals. The majority of our coaches, 78%, serve at the scholastic community level. But we do support those that are interested to get involved in the collegiate and even the professional ranks.
Yeah, that's great. So if I wanted to go through your course, what are the top takeaways that I, as a participant, or as someone who participated in your program, what are my top takeaways?
Corbett, that is a great question. But number one, in some ways, it's just allowing that veteran or service member to understand they already have these innate qualities. And it's just teaching some of the lingo, some of the vernacular, that what they've done in the service, whether that was at 3 years, 10 years, or 30 years, is relevant and it will translate. So that's one thing that we talk about is the transferable skills. The second thing is the high human skills aspect of it, meaning coaching is more to do with people than it is X's and O's. So we really emphasize the high human skills that's involved in coaching. How do you communicate? How do your players receive? What's the feedback loop that you're comfortable with? So it's a lot of the high human skills. And then I think thirdly, not to discount it because it's important, but thirdly is the techniques, right? The X's and O's, because we do put emphasis on exposing our coaches to the highest quality experts in the X's and O's of their chosen sport.
Yeah, that's outstanding. I actually saw an invite that the organization sent out with some guest speakers that were, high profile guest speakers. So again, getting that exposure. I think that's fantastic. I think that the program is doing a great service to the veterans and currently serving soldiers. And I think that's something that for veterans who are listening, the transition aspect of moving from the uniform to your suit, right? There really is a transition. It's a different language. And so being able to successfully translate, the word that you used was translate that uniformed life into that civilian life is key. And so having a team around you to support you and walk through is very important.
I think, Corbett, just a great example of that is just yesterday, I was on a call with the current UCLA chief of staff for the football team, Bryce Mcdonald, who's a Naval Academy graduate, played Navy football, and is now working for head coach Chip Kelly. And, Bryce really embodies maybe the highest level of he served in the Marine Corps, played Navy football, served in the Marine Corps, but Chip Kelly gave him the opportunity. And, it takes credit to individuals that understand that while this individual may not know all the vernacular, all the experience relevant today, they have a high upside. And we think that's true of many of our veterans. So I only use Bryce as an example because that illustrates at the highest level. Like today, Bryce Mcdonald sits as the chief of staff of UCLA football. But there's the Bryce Mcdonald equivalent who's serving at, co-ed soccer for 5 and 6 year olds. So it's just about ensuring that veterans and service members, they do, because as you may have experienced, I certainly did, transition is humbling. Mm-hmm. And we are just an organization that helps veterans and service members to understand that you may have more no's than yeses, but at the end of the day, you do have value added. You are going to contribute, and just stay true to your northern.
You're exactly right. That transition process of finding purpose and serving in whatever the gaining organization is. And a lot of it is people touch. And now even with COVID, it's still working with individuals, because it's what individuals making things happen is what makes organizations, teams work, right?
That's right.
And so I think that's fantastic. So for our viewers who want to get involved or want to find out more, what's the next steps?
Yeah, I would say, Corbett, thanks for that question. Number one, if you're a veteran or current service member, go to our website, right? www.soldierstosidelines.org. See how you can get involved. If you're not a veteran, you're not a service member, and you just want to support, we have a donation page. Like any other nonprofit, we are only successful because of the generosity of individual donors. And don't be concerned of the level of your donation. Every bit matters. And to me, that's the beauty of America. Like, this is the American dream, where nonprofits fill gaps. We are filling a gap. We are filling a very niche. Our veteran support organization is by design focused, right? We are very narrowly focused on helping veterans and service members get into coaching. And I say that with great pride. And that's what helps distinguish us. And I would just ask any of your viewers and members to, join as is suitable for them.
So I completely agree with you. Focus is critical. And when you were talking about that, it brings to mind a quote that one of my dad's best friends and actual co-founder of Leatherwood, Hi-Lux Optics, that he always would say, if you have too many roads, you have no road, right? You spread yourself too thin, you're not effective. So being able to have that laser beam focus, know what your purpose, know what your mission is. So I really appreciate that. So Will, any last comments or words of advice? Or
yeah, thanks, Corbett. I would say my last words would be, if you're a veteran service member, and when we say coaching, it's like my first experience was a co-ed 5 and 6-year-old soccer team. I hadn't even played soccer, but that's not what those athletes need. They just need somebody who's dedicated, is committed, and willing to provide framework. So the impact you're having, you may not receive that direct feedback ever, but just for you to internalize that you are making an impact on those, boys and girls. And then our ability to support your dream, whatever that level is. If you're like me and you only want to coach 10-year-olds and under, we can do that. If you're looking at the next step at that middle school scholastic, we have great examples. We have examples in the collegiate ranks. Several of our soldier coaches today are serving in the collegiate ranks, and then some are wanting to get into the next level, into the professional. So whatever your individualized, self-actualization level is, that's what we want to align ourselves with and be value-added. So thanks again, Corbett.